My name is Jim Manning, and I'm the author of Patriotism, Unhinged, available worldwide through online retailers. While there are hundreds and hundreds of photos that have been taken on the day of the assassination and the days following, you cannot accept them at face value. They tell a story, but they might tell the wrong story. I want to show some pictures that have always been interesting to me and see what you think. There are some details that you might not have noticed before. The first picture is a picture of the coffin being carried up into Air Force One, the back of Air Force One, by Secret Service agents. And in fact, the coffin was so wide that they had to break off the handles to get it through the door, apparently. You would probably assume that the body was in that coffin. When the plane landed in Washington, you saw the body come off of the plane down an elevator and into an ambulance. Jacqueline Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and Jack Kennedy's personal physician got in the ambulance. The ambulance went from Andrews Air Force Base to Bethesda Naval Hospital, and they let out Jackie, Robert, and the doctor to go in and up on the elevator to the waiting area. Then the ambulance left the front of the hospital and went around to the back. Went around to the back, they pulled up alongside an exact duplicate ambulance. Now, there are some are still alive. There were 6 corpsmen who had already taken Jack Kennedy's body, had it sitting in the morgue in a military casket, the type of casket that people were coming back from Vietnam in. It was evident that Jack Kennedy's body was never on that airplane. It came in right around 6 p.m. The Secret Service picked up the body and took it in. They took the body and put it up on a gurney, wheeled it into a room close by. And that would have been no later than 6:45 to 6:55. That means the body was at the hospital an hour and 10 or 15 minutes before the ambulance arrived at 8 o'clock with Jackie, Robert Kennedy, and Jack's physician, personal physician. And there's a time difference of over an hour, and there's no way to explain it. This is General Edward Lansdale. He was the person who was in the Army, but he was the connection to the CIA. He was more CIA than he was Army, but he was a general in the Army, okay? And this picture shows the tramps, okay? But when you look closer, you see that there's a man walking in the opposite direction. That man has been identified by a lot of Army generals as being General Ed Lansdale. Now, Ed Lansdale was the Black Ops guy. He was the intelligence guy between the CIA and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Why would General Lansdale be in Dealey Plaza that day? The only thing I can think of is that he was there orchestrating, along with our future president, George H.W. Bush, the execution of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. I have always believed that one of the shots, probably the one that hit him in the neck, came from right above the underpass, not where the railroad people were watching the parade from, but to the extreme left where it turns, you wouldn't be able to see somebody who was kneeling with a rifle and shooting from the pilasters. And there are some views of that. It's dark. You can see through the pilasters, light, then you can't see through that one, and then light. And so I've always sort of believed that there was a shot from there. Some of the cars in the motorcade were still in the view. The picture that I have is seconds after the final shot that was taken by a newsman, and it's when you blow it up, it does show that there's somebody there. On the other building, the county records building, there's a picture of a guy on top of the building with a rifle. And next to that is another building. There's these long, way it's architectural, and you can see a guy with a gun hanging out from one of those. And, a lot of people haven't been into it enough to see everything. And so that really would shake somebody up to see that. I know Harry Weatherford was either on top of the county records building or on top of the jail. He was on one of the buildings, and he had purchased 3 weeks before the assassination, he had purchased a very expensive silencer for his rifle. So, people could draw their own conclusions. Somebody asked him and said, did you shoot from up there? And he says, I shot from a lot of places. He said, you ever kill anybody? He said, I killed a lot of people. He's a sort of like a badass kind of guy, However, nobody ever mentions him in anything. And when I told Ed Tatro that I thought he was a shooter, he said, most of the people in this thing wouldn't even know who he is. But he said, I think you're right.